Hello, everybody, and you're very welcome to Successful Perspectives. Successful Perspectives, of course, is when we deep dive into the topic of leadership and we get to know our members of our very selective network, Boardroom by EMIR. For this episode, I am delighted to be joined by Sophie Doireau, who is the CEO of Cartier for Middle East, India, and Africa. Sophie, it is always lovely to see you. I'm so glad that you've joined us for this Successful Perspectives conversation. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Trevor. It's a pleasure as well, and pleasure to be part of EMIR in the Middle East. Clearly, I'm super honored to be there for this interview.
Thank you very much. And on that point, you have stepped into the role of CEO probably over the last 6 months or so. And I have to say, of all of our members, in terms of taking over a role at a very interesting time, you probably take the title in terms of taking a big role at a time when a company is doing really interesting things in the market. Cartier obviously had its presence at Expo with the Women's Pavilion. So talk me through that kind of baptism of fire, becoming CEO of the region, everything that's happened over the last 6 months with Expo. How has it been? What have you learned about yourself as well?
Yes, thank you, Trevor. And you're right, it was a baptism of fire. And it was so I took my new position of CEO exactly at the same time as Expo opened, so in September, just before. And clearly, I thought, how will I be able to handle everything at the same time? This new position, this Expo that is so dear to me because this is a project, long-term project that we've worked on for the last 4 years. And in fact, I think also this was the best timing. The best timing that the top management of Cartier decided to appoint me, because with my appointment, we walk the talk in terms of women's empowerment, and especially in this region that suffers a lot from misconception. It was obvious for everybody that yes, you could be a woman CEO in the Middle East. It's not an issue. On the contrary, I think it's really an advantage. And having this Expo, let's say, this Expo project that is so meaningful, where we position the Maison Cartier as really a citizen of the world, to speak about a cause and to, let's say, embark people, to celebrate women, to make also an impact. Whoever we are, we all know that we have an impact and a role to play in this quest of more equality. So I think that it was clearly the best timing. It's hectic, I won't lie. I told you, and I wish I could do many more things, to attend also conferences. Clearly, I wanted to see you many times. But we know that we are in a kind of tunnel for 6 months, and I'm speaking also on behalf of the team, but a tunnel that is so exciting for all of us. And I think a tunnel that gives us, let's say, a sense of purpose in terms of why are we there and what is the impact that we can make on this world.
What did you learn about yourself in these 6 months from a leadership point of view? Because as we say, a baptism fire probably is an understatement. When you look back over and you reflect, what did you learn about yourself?
I learned that drive towards the team is crucial to embark them, because when you are on a project that is long-lasting, in fact, it's not you organize an event and after it's done, you can rest. No, in fact, it's ongoing. So you need to have the drive, the positivity to re-embark the teams. And so for me, I learned that I had this inside of me, and that it's very, very important. And I learned as well that, in fact, you can have this very hectic period in your career. I think it's the most hectic period that I will never live. And after, what I expect as well is that you have, let's say, it has to calm down, So after Expo, what I told to all my team is that we need to rest, we need to breathe, we need to step back to be more efficient for the next project to come. But clearly, I think that we have such resources in ourselves, in fact, that we don't even know. Clearly, we work so hard, but in the end, we work with passion. So we know why we are doing that.
Tell me what you were thinking that night under Wasseau Dome when you had Christine Lagarde, you had this incredible event. What was going through your mind?
I was proud of what we achieved as a small team, believing so much in a project, in a cause, aligning with a world exhibition, with a country, which is the UAE, who believed as well in this cause. So we had the same vision. We had just different backgrounds. And in fact, I was so proud that, this public-private association, partnership, collaboration happened thanks to just the belief of people on both sides. And clearly on that night, I was thinking, okay, 4 years ago, who would have thought that it would be possible and that we would all together end or start at Wasseau Dome with this incredible crowd, with, yes, Christine Lagarde, who believed as well so much in the project, Phumzile Mlombo, who is a former UN woman, ED, executive director. So we had so many, let's say, inspiring people on the field. They accepted to join the boat of this cause. And I was so proud in a way. And I was so proud of my team, so proud of what we achieved. And I think that this is something that I will remember all my life, is that it seemed impossible at the beginning. This project was really a dream, impossible. And we did that together, thanks, first of all, to the belief of our leaders. Two leaders, our global CEO, Cyril Vigneron, the Minister of Cooperation in charge of Expo, Rima Lachimi. First of all, we presented the project to both of them. They believed in the project strongly. I think it gives you also wings to really to achieve, to overachieve, because they bet on you, and I mean also with my counterpart at Expo. And so you have to deliver. You have to deliver because they take the risk as well. So I think in terms of leadership, it's a great lesson of, okay, we need to take risk.
And I genuinely think, I've said this to some of the other CEOs in our network, that should be a case study in how you do a collaboration between the public sector and the private sector, and how a brand should position itself with a sense of purpose and what it's about. And the interesting thing for me is to hear, you started that 4 years ago. Yes. And that's the secret to it for me, because we had a lot of clients come to us, pretty close to when Expo was starting. So, we want to do something in Expo. What should we do? And you're thinking, no. To do something effective, you have to think years out. You have to really, really think about this, because as you say, a blank canvas. You touched on the point there of the importance of leadership within this, in getting this project or delivering this project to the great achievement that it was. Talk to me about your leadership philosophy. What are the central tenets that you see as your leadership philosophy, and do you reflect on that leadership philosophy?
I would focus on three main tenets. The first one is the fact that I truly think that the respect is the basis of everything. You have to respect your peers. You have to respect your staff. You have to respect the people around, all the stakeholders that work for you in a way or another, all the partners that you have throughout this ecosystem in your company. And for me, this is really something so important, that this is a value in which I believe in my personal life, but that is intrinsically linked to me. Respect, respect, respect. Respect in everything. You have to respect the other, even if he has a different point of view. After you express your point of view, we agree, we disagree, but we align on something and we move forward. But for me, you respect. And so the counterpart of that is that most of the time in front of you, the person that you have in front of you is respecting you as well. I would say the second thing is, and I'm somebody who's quite creative. I love creativity. I love to think out of the box. And I keep on saying, my team may think differently. How can we stand out? How can we be different? To be as everybody, to be a follower, it doesn't interest me. I really strongly believe that all of us have many things to bring on the table that will make the difference and allow us to stand out and to have, exactly as this Women's Pavilion, to have meaningful projects that are on top of our jobs, but that really fuel us in terms of purpose, in terms of meaning. And I think this is really on every field of our jobs, we can be creative. And it gives another dimension of the way we work and we work together. And the third point is completely linked to my personality. I'm super positive, sometimes even too much. I try to convey this to the teams as well. Be positive, come with options, come with solutions. Let's not focus on what's bad, what's wrong, if we focus on that, yes, it's terrible. And I really want people to be, let's say, on the positive side of everything that they do.
I love that, because of course, if you're not positive, you're not optimistic. And if you're not optimistic, you're not really going to take risks or try new things. You're not going to pull off an event like you guys done at Expo and the Women's Pavilion. You have to be positive to believe that these things can happen in the first place. I love that. You mentioned earlier on, Sophie, that being a female CEO, even in the Middle East, could be advantageous in a way. Do you feel in any way your leadership style, being a woman, is different than your male counterparts, and does that give you an advantage in certain ways? What's your take on that?
I would say, with, let's say, the leaders with whom I worked for the last 20 years, I worked with incredible men and women leaders, and I worked with also very bad men or women leaders. So I would say it's not a question of gender. It's really a question of mindset, of personality. Me, I had the chance to really work, and especially over the last years, with incredible leaders, believing in the same values that are mine, in this women's empowerment, but really linked to meritocracy. Me, I strongly believe that you won't give a job to any woman just because she's a woman. She has to be at the right level. She has to have the right skills, the right experiences. Otherwise, she will fail in the end. And so everybody will fail. So I really strongly believe that, yes, being a woman, maybe it gives you other perspectives. Yes, because I'm also a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. So I will give another perspective for sure. But I really think that these values I was speaking about just before can be exactly the same values as men, clearly. For sure, I think that there is one point maybe that is maybe different. This is in this topic that is so difficult to achieve at this time, which is a work-life balance. As a woman, I think this is the difference. In the months to come, I really want to emphasize that to the teams, that please take the right time with your beloved ones to resource yourself, to step back, and to be much more efficient later on in your job.
That's a great point. And to be honest, I'm a bit embarrassed that I never thought of it before. And we've hosted, roundtable sessions on this topic. And it's a great point. Maybe if you have a female leader, there's perhaps a greater inclination to drive to a more of a work-life balance, because let's be honest, I don't think many people would deny that women they shouldn't, but in the reality of the world, they do have a more difficult time in achieving that balance. And we hosted some of these sessions, and I remember some of the female leaders saying, they need to meticulously manage every minute of their day, and anything that runs into their evening, they really doubly so need to check, okay, is this going to be a good investment of my time? If not, I'm obviously investing that time with my family. And to be fair, we've almost 300 members. I don't hear that as much. I do hear it from a lot of the great fathers in our network, but as much, I don't hear it as much. So it is certainly an interesting point. Do you feel that certain organizations, and maybe Cartier falls into this, in terms of creating a conducive culture that allows women to rise up in the leadership? What's been your experience in that? What do you feel is the secret sauce or the magic ingredients that can help that to happen?
It's a very important question, Trevor, because we all have a responsibility in this quest of more equality. And I think that, first of all, there are, let's say, the basic things that are the policies that you implement in your company. And so clearly at Cartier, this is something very important. You know, we just we've been certified as equal pay, for example. So it's basic, it's super simple, but we know that in the UAE, male and female at Cartier for a same position, they are paid exactly the same. So it's reassuring in a way. Everything also which is linked to paternity, maternity leave. So you know, just the basic things to give the right condition to both men and women to achieve and to have this to trust the company that they are treated the same. Then there is, and I benefited from that, you know, this coaching, mentoring that I have coach at Cartier, a mentor at Cartier. She's the CEO of the US. So she took the same position as mine, but it was maybe 6-7 years ago. So she has great experience. And we have monthly calls. And I can tell you that it brings me a lot because she helps me to find it sometimes very simple, but if you don't step back on the way you are a leader, if you don't ask questions to your fellows that have, let's say, experienced kind of the same issues, you for sure, I think it would be much more difficult for you. So for me, it's a great asset. And after, for me, there is a third point, and it's quite difficult, and I'm quite bad on this field. This is to build your network. Networking, I think, for female leaders is super difficult because, as I just mentioned, you have, of course, your job, you have your family. So finding the right balance in between the two, it's already difficult. And if on top of that, you add this networking, quest that is super important for me, and especially at our role, it's important that we know that we exchange, that we are inspired by others, that we see how it's going on different industries, on different fields in other countries. So it's through your network that you'll do that.
This is such a fantastic point, and it's something I kind of live on a daily basis and see, right? Because there's a lot of anecdotal discussions, conversations around the networking gender gap, okay? And there seems to be some people debate whether this exists. I can tell you 100% that this exists because I run a network, and we have a very strict selection criteria of who can apply to become a member based on size of organization, seniority, etc. And there's other selection criteria as well, but broadly speaking, that's it. And what I see is based on that, the vast majority of CEOs are male. Therefore, the vast majority of the room becomes male. And that means then that there's women that aren't networking. And therefore, I don't think there's many people that would deny, as you eloquently described, that networking is an important part of your organization success, your personal success. It inspires you with ideas. It gets you out of the silo of your own organization, etc. All of this is really important. And I see, and we're making great efforts to tackle this, but I see this happening on a daily basis. So I think we're definitely, as you come out of this tunnel, as you describe it for the last 6 months, we're going to put you at the center of this now after saying this. So there won't be any CEO that won't know you, or you won't have their details.
Thank you. As leaders, we need to inspire our teams and all the ecosystem we have around. And clearly, this inspiration for me, it comes from outside, from everything that you can take from this network that has to be diverse and different from what you know. And I think this is this diversity that I'm really eager to discover, to understand. And as you're saying, professionally speaking, and also personally, it's super interesting. I'm super curious. So it's super interesting to learn, to understand. And I think also this is part of my leadership style. I'm curious, and I want my teams to be curious, to understand, to try to understand, even if it's not obvious at the beginning, to try to understand, okay, what does he want to bring on the table? Who he is? It's different, yes, but maybe there is takeaway from what he's saying. And I really think that this world would be better if through respect, we try to understand much more what the other bring on the table.
Of course. And for us as running a network, the diversity in our network improves the network, right?
Yeah,
Because what's the
exactly.
point in meeting all a bunch of people who are the same, right?
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
such an obvious thing. It's in our benefit. It's in everybody's benefit. One
Mm.
final question, Sophie. You've been very gracious and kind with your time. What's the best piece of advice that you've received in your career that has stood you well and that perhaps you'd pass on to your team or anybody else?
You know, it's through really one of my mentors that is the CEO of Cartier, who keeps on telling me, believe in yourself. You're not here by chance. You're here because you have the right skills. So be yourself. And you know, I'm somebody quite natural, and I like to say what I mean. And he keeps on telling me, so tell me, what do you think? So don't be afraid. Be yourself. Believe in yourself. I think this is really the most important thing in life. Whatever you do, you can be a CEO or you can be whatever, you can be a housewife. It doesn't, it's not the issue. The issue is that just trust yourself. You could be the first buyer to the external world, just not thinking you're capable of doing things. And at the same time, you can be, let's say, your first booster in terms of achieving, because you think that it's possible, and you are yourself, you believe in yourself.
I love that. I love that. And it's so interesting. Sophie, I really enjoyed our conversation. Thanks so
Yes,
much for you being very kind with your time. And it's always great to talk with you. And we look forward to engaging with you now as you come out of the Expo tunnel. And congratulations again on the last
thank
six
you,
months.
Trevor.
Really, congratulations.
Thank you.